Alright. Well, didn't think I'd be here. But it looks like I'm actually continuing this series. I found the motivation. Now, if you're confused about what I mean by that, at the same time, almost exactly, that I upload this part, I'm going to upload another video. And that's going to be, I don't know exactly what I'm going to title it, probably something rant related. But basically, a few days ago, so the time I'm recording this is Monday morning, and the last time that I recorded was on Friday. So it's been a few days now. And I've been staggering out the uploads because I actually did so much recording in a short period of time that I figured, well, I can space out the uploads by a few days. And what happened is, due to a combination of a lot of different factors, on Friday, I reached my breaking point. I just snapped. And really, in the middle of the night, with nothing, I guess no way to relieve my stress, I decided that the best way I could do that would be to talk it out. So I turned on Final Fantasy, I clicked record, and I talked for 2 hours. Ended up being more than 2 hours, because at the end, I calmed myself down by recording some triple triad footage, which was fun. But a lot of it was ranting, and it was about a variety of things. One, YouTube. I mean, obviously YouTube is one of those constant sources of stress. Like, I'm not, I'm not uploading just, like, naturally. Like, I have to make a concerted effort to upload, right? So, obviously, the fact that I got relatively poor reception, not in terms of, like, oh, my YouTube metrics aren't doing well, but just, like, reception in terms of people telling me they don't like the new content, that kind of thing. Like, that was more of a personal, like, something I took personally, I guess, like a jab at me. Like, I felt like I'm not doing good in terms of, like, whether, really, yeah, I don't know how to put that. I've talked about it for a while. It's not something I want to get back into. I also talked a lot about the recent Blizzard allegations, because, I mean, they're horrible, right? And I do mention that a little bit, but I also, like, talked about how it's hit me pretty hard. To give a TLDR of that other video, I spend a good, like, 45 minutes talking about it, but I am a computer science and game design major. I'm going into my senior year of college, and ever since I was 5 years old, this has been my dream job. This has been something I wanted to do because of Blizzard Games. They have been the company that I always, like, looked up to and aspired to work for, so to see something this just absolutely disgusting and horrendous coming from Blizzard is, like, just earth-shattering to me. It's like all my childhood dreams just being snuffed out in an instant. So it's rough, right? Like, obviously, I feel incredibly bad reading all the different stories, and then on top of that, I'm like, well, shit. I'm going into the wrong career, I guess. But, like I said, I talk more about that, and I also, in length, discuss my thoughts on the Final Fantasy XIV speedrun, and my plans moving forward. And I've changed my mind. So, initially I said that this would be the end of the series, that Part 3, what you just watched, was the final part. I wasn't going to continue it at all. I was done. And the reality is that, I kind of lied to everybody. I lied to all of you, because I've been lying to myself this whole time. I've been trying to convince myself that I want something that I don't. Because the reality is, like, I kind of spent the last few days sitting down and thinking about, what do I really want to gain out of all of this? Like, when I came back to Final Fantasy XIV, I was really excited to do the main story quest speedrun, and then I thought, like, why? Why was I excited to do it? Was I excited to get world record? No, not really. Like, world record is obviously that standard that I hold myself to, because, like, I did it once in WoW, and I have to do it again. But the reality is, like, I don't need that to be happy. The reason that I wanted to go back through the main story quest is because I fucking love the Final Fantasy main story quest. I love the story. And I was really excited to play through it again. So then I was like, well, why is it making me so unhappy? And then I realized that every single thing that I enjoy about the main story quest is just removed while speedrunning. Nothing that actually makes it what it is involved in the speedrun. The only thing that matters in the speedrun is just mindlessly killing things as fast as possible. You don't even get to see the story. Ironically, in World of Warcraft, while speedrunning, I get to see more of the story because a lot of the cutscenes are played out in-game, rather than in a cutscene that you can skip. So the fastest way still involves watching some of these cutscenes play out, whereas in Final Fantasy, everything could be skipped pretty much. And I just realized I wasn't enjoying that. Not only do I generally hate skipping cutscenes, but it just wasn't fun having to do a speedrun where half of it was menuing, half of it was trying to skip the cutscenes as efficiently as possible. And then not only that, but I was being forced, if I wanted to compete, into a role that I absolutely hate. No offense to white mage mains out there, it's just not my thing. And then, like, I had to completely have my run live or die based on queue times and just completely uncontrollable RNG. I sat there and I realized, this isn't what I want. This isn't fun for me. And that's not to say that I won't, at any point in the future, make attempts at the world record again. I very well might. Not right now, though. I do want to be clear about that. Not right now. I'm putting any world record attempts on hold because I don't really feel like doing it. I even did some Conjurer attempts. I've been doing a few of them. I think I have the basis of the Gridania route, like, covered, but I still don't really want to do it. It's just not something I'm interested in. You also have to remember that I'm forced to play on Japanese servers, and the lag is kind of frustrating. It's hard to tell, but, like, I can feel it when I'm playing. I can feel the very slight delay. I can feel the long loading screens. It adds up, and it just makes everything feel really exhausting. And if I'm going casually, I don't really notice. Like, I don't care. But if I'm really trying to min-max every single second, and I have to sit there through a 10-second loading screen, that, like, kills my soul. I can't do that. But the reality is, I'm sitting here, I'm like, I want to finish the tank run, but I'm dreading the thought of speedrunning the tank run. All I want to do is just sit here and enjoy leveling a gladiator again, leveling a paladin again. That's all I want to do. As long as I can do that, I think I would enjoy myself. And so, we're gonna do something different. Something that I've really never done on this channel before. I'm just gonna level with no timer on the screen, with no speedrun intent in mind, and I'm gonna fucking watch cutscenes. Well, maybe not now. Admittedly, a lot of the A Realm Reborn cutscenes are kind of like, eh. Like, I don't need to see the Titan cutscenes for the 20th time. They're kind of boring. But especially when we get to the good shit, like towards the end, I'm gonna start watching cutscenes, because that's how I enjoy leveling in this game. You know, in WoW, I don't care for the story, to be completely honest. It jumped the shark long ago for me. I'd rather just go fast, but here I do care about that. And that's the way I prefer to level. So I'll do speedrun attempts on a white mage in the future whenever they re-add preferred service to North America, but for now, I just want to have fun. And that's what I'm going to do. So, the speedrun, the MSQ speedrun practice is done. Part 3 was the final episode. But the leveling isn't. I'm going to take this all the way. And the irony is, if I make it all the way to Shadowbringers without anybody else submitting a run on speedrun.com, I could do a run watching pretty much every cutscene and still get world record for that, because nobody submitted a run. Who knows? But I think that would be a bit amusing. It would be kind of funny to make the speedrun.com mods watch, like, all the cutscenes. But, you know, sure, that run will get beaten, but I would do it just for the shits and giggles. I guess I will say on that note, I don't want to sit here and talk about it in length, but I think that Final Fantasy's speedrun category needs a major rule overhaul. I mean, this isn't, like, exactly the reason why I stopped running it. I'm not gonna sit here and say, oh, the rules are bad. Admittedly, they are. But that's why I don't do it. No, I'll admit that I got bored. I'll admit that I didn't want to play the meta, which is White Mage. So, I didn't. That's a big part of it, realistically. And that you can't change. The reality is that no rule changing for the Final Fantasy XIV speedrun category will make it so dungeons aren't required. Won't make it so that healer queues aren't the fastest. That is just an inherent fact of the game. And the only thing that could change that, which I think admittedly if they are able to do that in the future would be cool, is enabling you to team up with a party of NPCs to do the low-level dungeons, which is something you can do starting from level 70. So it would make sense if they took that, like, Shadowbringers feature and, like, re-implemented it into older content. I think that would be really cool, and I think that would make this category a lot more interesting to run. But as it stands, the RNG is too much. But I think there are things they could do to minimize the RNG. I'm not going to go into length about it here. I've kind of mentioned it in passing multiple times while going throughout the run, that I think there's a lot of really big loopholes or just discrepancies in terms of, like, fairness between runs that make this category just kind of a slog to do. And I also think that there are a lot of major exploits that I've noticed that obviously I'm not going to sit here and abuse, right? Because at this point I don't care enough. But a rule set should be very thorough. You should think of every single possible way that somebody could do something ridiculously game-breaking. And the Final Fantasy XIV main story quest speedrun rules are like bare bones. It's like, you can't use the mailbox, you can't use the auction house, and you can't join a free company. Like, okay. But there are so many more things you could do to break the game in half. And right now, it looks like either people haven't thought of it, or there's a gentleman's agreement to not do that. But the reality is that when you have things that are core gameplay mechanics that, admittedly, while cheesy, could cause a massive time save in a run, it exists in this weird, like, limbo of people are like, well, should I do this? I could save a lot of time by doing this, but it kind of seems unfair. It's not officially banned in the rules, so it's technically not against the rules, but it feels like it's against the spirit of the rules. And when you have situations like that, it just makes it unfun to run. So either, you know, maybe if people discover that and it's allowed, then sure, but I actually think that they should just go into the rules and very clearly outline, this isn't allowed, this isn't allowed, this isn't allowed. So you know that all of these, like, cheesy strategies are just off the table. You know, it may limit creativity, but at least it's more honest, I guess. Now, I'm gonna start rambling a lot if I just continue down this track. So, before I go too far, I'll probably put a video up. I'm not sure exactly when, but I do want to give maybe a 30-minute video just encompassing my thoughts on exactly how the Final Fantasy main story quest speedrun rule set needs to be changed to make the run as a whole more approachable for, like everybody. Because right now, while there are some people running it, there's only a few people seriously running it. And I'm going to be honest, I don't fucking know how. I don't know how they enjoy doing a 15-hour run with really, 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 really intense RNG that can make or break your run at, like, the 14th hour. It just doesn't seem fun to me, and I feel like there's so many easy ways you can fix that. So I'll probably whip together a PowerPoint outlining some of the major flaws in how they create their rules, and what I think they can do better to make the run overall better, really. Now, with that being said, I'm gonna hop in. No timer, no nothing. We don't need to worry about being inefficient. I'm just gonna log in. Maybe I could have done that before, because I guess it doesn't really matter. And I forget why I ended up here. Either way, I don't have my Paladin Jobstone equipped for some reason, so I'll go ahead and do that. And before I do anything, first thing I feel like doing, I was gonna say would be going to the Golden Saucer, except I'm actually really dumb, and I forgot to grab the Aetherite points. So I'm still gonna go to the Golden Saucer. And I'm gonna play Mini Catpot. Is that a weird way to start off a run? Sure, but as I said, I'm not speedrunning anymore. At least not right now. You know, I don't need to worry. Is this slow? Sure, but it feels so liberating, not having a timer constantly ticking on the side of your screen. It's so nice just being able to, like, do whatever the fuck you want, play at your own pace. Like, admittedly, I'd like to think that when I level, I still naturally go at a fast pace. I still like to be efficient. But I would say there's a fine line between efficient and just kind of unfun. If I'm going super fast and I'm stressing myself out, I'm suddenly not having fun. So I like to be efficient to the point where I can actually enjoy it. Alright, what is... Air Force 1 is up again? You know what? Screw it. I'll do that too after Mini Cactbot. What can I say? There's a Golden Saucer event up, and the Golden Saucer is kind of addicting. I mean, this place is fun. I love just chilling out here. Let's see. Ooh. See, that's a tough one. So, obviously, I haven't revealed 1 and 2 yet. So, I think, generally speaking, my thought process is, if there's a line that could theoretically get me the jackpot, I'm just gonna take it, because why not? And you know, I didn't get the jackpot there. I really don't think there was anything better. Oh, I could have gotten 21. Yeah. Unfortunate. But that's even still not that amazing. Yeah, I don't know. Generally speaking, it's like, unless I'm absolutely 100% sure that I can get one of the consolation prizes, like if I know that I can get 21, I'll just take it. But if I don't have anything guaranteed, but I have a chance at getting the full jackpot, I'm all in. Okay, so I can't get the jackpot because all lines have to go through it, and we haven't revealed 1, 2, 3. So okay, I'm gonna go for 987. Ah, unlucky. I could have gotten 23. I mean, ultimately, yeah, it's a game of pure chance. Unfortunate that it was 1 and 2, but not in a line. Okay, and last mini Cactbot for today. So we have 2. All right, let's see what that is. 7. 9. So 479 would be 20, so that's not important. I could still, in theory, get the jackpot from this row. I'm gonna go for it. I don't think any of the others would have been especially great either way. Okay. I'm also not sure how far I want to go today. I kind of had clear goals when I was doing it before, but now I'm not really sure how far I'm going to take each run. I definitely want to start off by finishing my class quests. Like, it's debatable whether or not it's efficient, but I don't care. I kind of want my new abilities. I always like getting my class quests done as soon as possible when I'm not speedrunning, just because it's cool to have all your new abilities unlocked and to be caught up on that. That's definitely the way I recommend playing it. Alright. So unless I make any colossal blunders, just like in the rant video, Air Force 1 is not too hard, pretty straightforward. Also, one thing I realized while doing testing on my own free time is that one of the reasons why there's so many people on Japanese servers that speak English is because Australian players play here. And that's something that never really occurred to me, but now that I think about it, like, yeah, it makes sense. So, I guess, yeah, I've been playing with a lot of Aussies lately, which is cool. But I do think they're getting their own servers in Endwalker. So, maybe that won't be as big of a thing going forward. Who knows? Obviously, if like there's already a community built up, then people may not want to leave, unless they offer free transfers. But I don't know, knowing Final Fantasy, like, they're pretty cool about stuff like that. I think it would be really cool if they offered free transfers off Japanese servers for anybody that wants to go to like Oceania servers, because it seems only like reasonable, right? And I'm not saying this because I would benefit from it. I have no plans to long-term play on Japanese servers or Oceania servers, but I feel like that would just be a really cool thing to do. It would mean that without spending money, like, Australians can keep their guilds together and stuff. Alright, or free companies. I keep calling them guilds, but yeah, just free companies. And yep, perfect score. The only real way to mess this up is if you, like, are just spam clicking and then, like, one of the bad things spawns in front and you accidentally shoot it. I have done that before, admittedly. It always is a bit frustrating, but, you know. Just means you can't be lazy. You gotta constantly be alert, constantly be paying attention. And, yeah, let's see. So I need to do this quest. And that would be... I think airport's probably the fastest way to get there. Because it's up in Outer Lanaska. Definitely has been a hot minute since I've done Paladin quests. I guess other thing that I'm thinking about now, like, I'm gonna continue leveling this character. I want to replay all of the story. I should also say another big reason why I decided to change all of this stuff is... in the time that, like, I spent not speedrunning over the past few days, I went back onto my main and finished all of the quests up into the end of Shadowbringers. So I'm fully caught up now. And I'm not going to spoil it, obviously. I mean, you're slowly getting trickle spoilers throughout the story as you watch this. But I'm not going to, in this section, spoil Shadowbringers. Like, if you decide to watch the Shadowbringers episodes whenever I get there, then, yeah, obviously there'll be inherent spoilers just through gameplay, but I'm not going to actually say what happens. I will say, though, it was good. I like the ending. Bit concerned about where they're taking the story. I'm a bit iffy on it. Overall, I still like the quality of the writing, but I think that the storyline that they're currently going down is stretching it a little bit for me. And obviously, yes, like, all of Final Fantasy is, like, you know, a high fantasy setting. Like, you have to stretch your disbelief, but I think there's a certain difference sometimes in storytelling between, like, what is magically possible and what is, like, reasonably possible. It's hard for me to really discuss, like, some of the admittedly slight issues that I have with the current storyline. Without, like, getting into spoiler territory, so I will kind of stop there. But all I'll say is I find some of the current plot lines make me kind of look at it and go, that seems like a bit unreasonable. I don't know about that. Like, I'm just, you know, actually perfect. Literally, I didn't plan this, but perfect coincidence. I'm just gonna sit here and stare at this general area in the distance. I'm not gonna give the context. Just this area. And if you've played through the end of Shadowbringers, you know exactly what I meant with what I just did there. And I have some problems with how that is written, I guess. But otherwise, I think it's good. I still love the characters, obviously, but some of the high-level story details are getting to be a bit much, in my opinion. That said, I mean, obviously, the overall experience is good. I'm very happy with, like, generally how everything is going overall. I think that the Final Fantasy story is amazingly written, and after playing through all of that, it just made me realize why I love this game so much. It made me realize that, no, I'm doing this wrong. Why am I going in here trying to, like, do every last bit of, like, leveling I do, like, speedrun? Like, why can't I just do it normally? I could do speedrunning later. Especially considering I can't even play in North America right now. So I might as well now just have fun, level, and I can save the serious attempts for later on. Alright. There's a lot of these things. Forgot about that. But yeah, I guess, like... Huh, that's a lot of curl. Oh, no. Wait, what? Okay, I thought they were attacking me as part of the quest or something. I was very surprised. It's like, I don't remember that part. Is that all of them? Alright. Nice. But yeah, I think... I'm not sure what my schedule is going to be. I mean, obviously, I've been putting out videos pretty quick, right? Like, you're getting this and the other, 2.5-hour long video on the exact same day, assuming my upload schedule is as I plan it to be, which it should be. I mean, I have no reason to change that, because as I record this, I have quite literally uploaded the other video to YouTube already. It's sitting there as a draft, fully processed, everything. All I need to do basically is hit publish. Of course, I realistically also need to create a thumbnail, write a description, etc., etc. But, like, if I wanted to, I could just put publish then and there, and I'd be good to go. So, this is the only video in question. So, pretty much if this video goes up, then the other video will be up as well. Alright. And like I said, while I will be listening to cutscenes eventually, I would say this is probably maybe one of the only unpopular opinions I think I might truly have about Final Fantasy. I actually do condone cutscene skipping for A Realm Reborn. I would say it's a bit tricky though, because if you cutscene skip in A Realm Reborn, you're gonna miss out on a lot of the context. Like, first time I played through it, I listened to it all. I watched every single last cutscene, and I even did that like a few times after, but what I realized is that so much of it just tells you nothing. So what I tend to do for a lot of my friends that I'm trying to get into Final Fantasy is I give them like a 5-minute TLDR of like everything you need to know up until like maybe patch 2.4. I don't explain Crystal Tower, because Crystal Tower is genuinely just good. And there's like some other side plots that you do at max level that are, or at level 50, which is base game max level, that are good. So that stuff I don't tell. But I basically give the TLDR of the story, which, like, I can do that because I've skipped all the story up till now. So what is the story that I skipped? What is the main plot of Final Fantasy XIV up till this point? Honestly, it's relatively straightforward. You're an adventurer, and you're trying to just, make your way. That's, like, pretty much what Episode 1 was. I land in the city, and I'm trying to, forge my own path, pretty much. Pretty straightforward start to any MMO. And then, one of the main things that you find out over the course of the first few quests is that the Sultana's crown, I believe is exactly what they say, has been stolen. Sultana Namo, I forget the exact pronunciation, is the leader of Ul'dah, that big city that I first started off in. And yeah, like, her crown gets stolen, like, people are trying to ransom it, and you're working with, like, her royal guard to go get it back. The Royal Guard are the people who are giving me my paladin quests. They are like an order of paladins that work for ul'dah. So, you work with them, you help get it back, and you also meet this guy named Thancred. And Thancred helps you out, he's helping out the Sultana, and he works for an organization known as the Scions of the Seventh Dawn, which later on I joined, but I'm getting ahead of myself. So, you basically go find the people responsible for taking the crown, beat them up, get it back, but then this mysterious hooded figure known as an Ascian pops out and tries to kill you. That's the quest where I'm, like, fighting the big demon guy, and there's, like, the hooded figure. And we don't really know much about him, we just know that he's evil, and he tried to kill us, he's working with the bad guys, that's about all we know at this point. And Thancred shows up, he helps us stop him, and then Thancred's like, hey, you know, after you're done, like, going around talking to the Sultana and, you know, going on a tour of all these different cities, you should check out the Scions of the Seventh Dawn. So, that part of the story is, like, before then, kind of bare bones. Like, that's actually where the dungeon stories fall into place. Like, you're just going around, generally adventuring, doing different dungeons. You're a representative of whatever your starting city is and whatnot, and that introduces you to, like, the airships, the teleport network, dungeons, etc. Like, a lot of the early stuff you can skip because it really doesn't say much. Like, I'm honestly making it sound a whole lot more interesting than it really is. It's basically just an introduction to the game's systems. And while you can play through the story to get that, the reality is that, like, if one of my friends is starting the game, by the time they actually start, they'll probably have already asked me so many questions about, like, what to do that I will have explained all this. I will have explained the travel systems. I'll have explained the class systems. I'll have explained the leveling process. Like, they know all this stuff, and dungeons are like an MMO staple. So, a lot of these cutscenes, basically, I'll tell my friends, just, if you want, skip the early cutscenes, just get a good way into the game. I will give you a TLDR of, like, the early story, because there's really not much there. And then, even early on with the Scions of the Seventh Dawn, it's more just getting to know the characters. You get to know, like, Minthelia, you get to know Thancred, Urianger, Y'shtola, pretty much all of them. But there's nothing juicy that happens. And then, even then, the most plot-significant thing that has happened so far that I've kind of skipped over would probably be Ifrit. And Ifrit was like that big fire dog boss that I fought. And he's only notable in the sense that he's a primal. And what are primals? Well, primals, they don't do a great job of explaining this early on. I'd say that's one of the main issues I have with The Realm Reborn. They have lots of cutscenes, lots of words to tell you very little. When, in reality, the truth is, like, very, very basic. Now, this is a touchy subject. I don't want to go into it too much, because I know that primal summoning gets expanded upon later, so I want to make sure I'm using the information that we know now, rather than something that you figure out later. The TLDR of primals is, a primal is a physical manifestation of whatever the beast tribe that's summoning its god is. So, in that quest... Here, I'll queue myself up for the dungeon while I talk about this. In that quest, we were fighting against the Amalja. The Amalja are like the big, muscular, like, beast guys. Their god is Ifrit. So, by using a lot of these crystals, Aether crystals, they're able to, like, summon forth a physical manifestation of their god into the world. And what we find out is that these beings, called primals, can basically mind control anything that they come into contact with, which is a process called tempering. So, the reason that a lot of these beast tribes end up summoning their gods and causing them to, like, you know, kill all these people is because they get, like, possessed by their god through that process, and then they get, like, this voice in their head that tells them, I need to summon my god, I need to kill all these people, blah, blah, blah. It just makes them into a, like, crazed, like, religious zealot, effectively. So, During that process of fighting Ifrit, all of our allies get tempered. They all get turned into slaves to Ifrit. And we're immune. The player character is immune. And we find out that the player character is what the game tells us, the Warrior of Light. Or basically, we're blessed with something called the Gift of Harldan, the Gift of Light, whatever you want to call it. Different NPCs call it different things. Effectively, Harldan, who is this kind of mysterious entity that's kind of like the god of, like, everybody in this world, like the civilized people. Like, she's the god of the continent, like Eorzea, kind of. For lack of a better way to explain it, with the knowledge that I know players have access to at this stage in the game. She is, like, chosen you, the player character, as her champion, or at least that's, like, what people seem to think. And because of that, for some reason, you are immune to this tempering process. Nobody really knows why. All they know is that because of your gift of light, you can't be tempered. You are immune to primals. So, as a result, you're able to slay Ifrit. And this is where it kind of gets a little bit weird in the early Realm Reborn stories, and this kind of continues for a little while. In the canon of the Final Fantasy story, like, the player character is the only one actually doing these dungeons. They're the only one killing Ifrit. You basically solo him. Even though you queue for it as a group, you do it with 3 other people. In the story, you're alone, which is kind of weird. First of all, it raises the question of, like, why didn't they just make a group version and a solo version, if that's how they want to do it in the story? They actually sometimes do this later on, but also later on in the story, they sometimes find ways to make it so it explains why you're getting 7 other people to help you kill this boss. But they don't do that until much, much later. For now, you just kind of have to extend your disbelief and accept that, yeah, this raid boss that I just killed with, like, 7 other players, I actually killed it solo in the game's story. You know, fuck those other guys. They didn't do anything. That kind of thing. So anyways, you kill Ifrit, and, like, you're hailed as, like, oh, the Icon Slayer. Icon's, like, a term that a lot of people use to describe primals, and everybody's like, oh, you can slay primals. That's so cool. And then the player character is, like, you know, praised and whatnot. And then, this is why A Realm Reborn kind of gets a bit of a bad rap, and justifiably so. After killing a primal, after doing something that's apparently really heroic, you basically just kind of fuck around and do, like, odd jobs for the Scions. Like, there's that whole section in Gridania where you're just trying to, like, help out the Sylphs, and, like, I think it's under the pretense that, like, they don't summon a primal, so you're trying to, like, make peace with them so that they, you know, be good and don't do, like, bad shit, kind of. Then we go over to Gridania and we just randomly help with Hawk Manor. That's a complete side story that doesn't really matter at all and is never brought up again. Hawk Manor is, like, non-existent in terms of the game's overall story. And really, up until this point, nothing matters. Even the stuff I'm doing right now, it doesn't matter. The only thing that has happened up, like, so far is you basically are now tasked with fighting Titan. Apparently, the kobolds, another tribe of beasts that live in Lanaska, have summoned their god, Titan. And we need to find him, and we need to find out how to defeat him. So, you go over there, you talk to this guy who claims to have killed Titan. Turns out he's just a random farm boy who made up this story about killing Titan. And, like, you beat him in a duel, and he's like, oh, I'm sorry, I lied. And then, like, you go find the guy who actually killed Titan, and then he sends you on a bunch of, like, odd jobs to do random bullshit. It's just kind of annoying, really. And then finally, after all that, as I will show within a few quests, we get to fight Titan, and then we kill Titan. And that's pretty much it. There's no other significance besides that. And one of the other parts about this that is kind of underwhelming is, like, the significance of killing Ifrit and of killing Titan is non-existent. Because in the lore, and in the story, these primals are effectively immortal. even if you kill them once, they can be resummoned as many times as... or as many times as the beast tribes that summon them have Aether crystals to do so. So you can effectively be fighting endless amounts of Titan. In fact, one of the requirements for the main story quest at max level is to kill all of the primals that you have to fight throughout the story. So Ifrit, Titan, and later on Garuda, again, but this time on hard mode. And that's like, I get that they wanted to make it so people played through the hard mode versions of these fights, but I really dislike how they wrote that in of like, yeah, you know, they summoned it again, go deal with it. I'm fine with that existing as a story mechanic of the primals basically being unkillable and they can be summoned an infinite number of times, especially because that as a story mechanic, I won't explain how, but they expand upon that in a way that actually I think makes a lot of sense and is really interesting. But as it stands, when you're going through it the first time in A Realm Reborn, it just kind of takes out a lot of the triumphant feeling you got by killing that boss, because it's like, well, you didn't actually kill Ifrit. Like, you killed one Ifrit. They can summon more. So the reality is that almost everything that happens in the main story up until level 45 doesn't matter at all. Like, even when we get to Kurthus, like, I think we meet Harchifant for the first time, like, during A Realm Reborn. I can't remember if it's there or the patch content, but he's an important character in Heavensward. We meet some other kind of important characters in Heavensward around level 40. But once again, that's the issue that I have with A Realm Reborn. It doesn't actually tell an interesting story. Nothing about these quests are interesting. It just introduces characters. And the characters are neat, but the reason why so many people give up on Final Fantasy is because it has interesting characters, but those characters do nothing until, like, 100 quests later on down the road. So you really, 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 really need to slog through a lot of pointless quests to get to the payoff. And it's very hard to convince people of that. You know, it's easy to, like, you know, say, oh yeah, no, don't worry, keep playing through it, it's gonna get better. But the reality is, and I know this firsthand, the first time you're playing through it, it's very frustrating, because, like, I kind of went through the same thing, right? First time I played through the main story quest, I was bored to tears. Okay. Okay. Just not getting healed, barely even taking damage. Okay, they're actually casting. That's good. But yeah, first time I played through the main story quest, I was... Come on. This is what I mean when I say that you have some healers that hear that they need to DPS. They're told, oh, DPSing as a healer is important. So they sit there, and in the middle of a difficult pull like that, they spam, like, arrow. Because they're like, well, I need to be DPSing, right? And then they don't actually stop to think, oh, wait, maybe I should just be focusing on healing right now, because this is actually a big pull. Like, obviously, I'm not going to flame them. I think they're either new... Well, they're not super new, because they are playing Astrologian, which is a Heavensward class. So they've at least hit level 60. Or probably close to it. But they definitely don't really know what they're doing as a healer. Also, is Benefic one of their best spells? Because I feel like I'm just getting not healed at all by this. And yeah, it's tricky, right? Because, like, a healer's main goal is to keep the tank's health above 0. Realistically, yeah, that is all you're supposed to do. So I'm sitting here really low HP, and I'm like, I really think the healer should heal me, but technically speaking, at that point in time, they have done nothing wrong. But I guess, like, once we've already established that they did fuck up and they did let me die once, then it kind of sets a precedent of, okay, they should probably be playing a little bit safer and not letting me fall down to, like, 10 HP before they cast the heal. Just to be safe. And my gear isn't even really outdated, right? No, this is level 24 gear. My gear is pretty up to date. About as up to date as it gets. And here, you can see, oh, they got silenced because they stood too close. Well, that's just unfortunate. I was wondering why they didn't cast them. One of the other things is, a lot of people, a lot of, like, experienced healers will tell you that you don't need to constantly keep the tank topped up. You only need to keep the tank from dying. And, in theory, this is correct. It is absolutely correct that if you are an experienced healer, that is your only job. And the reason for this is because, assuming you're an experienced healer, you should know damage patterns pretty well. You should know how much damage the tank will be taking. So, as long as the tank isn't dead, if you know that there's not enough damage incoming to kill the tank, you don't need to heal them immediately. But I take it that this healer is still relatively new. And the reality is, they don't actually know what the incoming damage patterns are. So they're trying to do what I assume they read in some guide, which says, like, don't heal the tank until they're, like, about to die, because, like, you should be DPSing. But as a result, because they don't actually know how big the damage spikes can get, they're nearly letting me die, or in the first pull, letting me die, because they're not prepared. So my recommendation to any new healers is top up the tank as much as possible when you are first learning. Once you are absolutely confident in both your playstyle and the content you're doing, so if you're going back through a dungeon during like a random dungeon queue, and you've done this dungeon before, you're confident in it, you know exactly what the damage patterns are, then yeah, sure, by all means, be a little bit greedy. Let the tank dip a bit low. But while you're learning, don't risk it. Just heal your tank. They'll be happier, you'll be happier, because, you know, the tank won't die and the group won't wipe. It'll just be better for everybody. Alright. What was I saying, though? Admittedly, I completely forgot what I was saying. Oh yeah, the Unrumberborn story. Yeah, the problem is, I will give a lot of credit to the writers, because it's not like there's nothing in the Unrumberborn story. It's a very tricky situation, because there's actually a lot of really interesting, like, hints built up in A Realm Reborn that don't get a payoff until Shadowbringers, like 3 expansions later. And it lets you see very clearly that the developers of the game had a very clear vision for where they wanted to take the story from the get-go. They always knew what they wanted to do. And I respect that a lot. I think that having a clear vision of your story before you just write it and not doing ass pulls on the fly is really, really, really good. I think that makes them fantastic writers. But I think one thing that they kind of failed at a little bit early on is giving proper payoff in the immediate moments. Like, yeah, sure, you're doing all of these different setups in A Realm Reborn that have immense payoff later on down the track. But there's not enough, like, there's not enough of a satisfying beginning and ending story that actually occurs entirely within A Realm Reborn. The ending of A Realm Reborn itself is extremely lackluster, in my opinion at least. It's okay, but it's very, very, very basic. It feels really rushed. And it's basically just a simple thing of, yay, we beat the bad guys in a single battle. Hooray. And the patch content is really random, really meandering, all over the place. And like here, I'm actually about to die. Okay, good. Like, for a little bit there, the healer was healing me as if I was only taking auto attacks from the boss, whereas in that case, I was now taking auto attacks from 2 targets. And they didn't adjust to that. They recovered it literally the last second. I think if they delayed any longer with their heal, I straight up just would have died there. But thankfully they didn't, so that's nice. But I still might here. Like, look at my health right there. I'd love to believe that that's calculated on the healer's part, but I think we've already proven that it's not. That's just way too close of a margin. It's just, you never really know with bosses like this, like, when they're just randomly going to turn around and whack the tank. So leaving them at like 20% HP is a really big risk. Don't recommend. Now, this room. So I've seen a lot of people discussing what the best way to pull this room is. It's not that, that's for sure. That's not what I was going for. So, I kind of fucked up there a little bit. Problem here is, there's so much trash. It's very easy to get a snowball pull that you don't intend for in this room in particular. And because it's a very open-ended room, a lot of people recommend, like, different types of pulls and stuff, but it's also kind of hard to say which way is the best, because the mobs patrol, so in theory you can sneak around a lot of them. Honestly, I'm not sure. What I do know is I'm going to go this way. Yeah, and that's the problem. If people are too slow, then you get patrols, and then it just kind of snowballs out of control. Luckily, they did this after we got out of combat, so it's not too bad. But a lot of the trick in this room is avoiding as many patrols as possible. The Fugils are the guys that patrol. So if people follow me closely, that Kolibiri's looking this way, so that's not good. And see, that's the problem. Everything's just so... Oh, yeah, that's right. I'm not even gonna... I can't try to recover this. This healer's not gonna have this, but... So that's the tricky thing. I pulled 2 mobs. And then somebody else pulled 3 mobs, and somebody else pulled another 3 mobs, and suddenly it's a wipe. So this room can be very, 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 very annoying. This is another reason why this is just not a fun thing to speedrun. Because if I had been speedrunning right now, I guarantee you I would have punched a hole through my computer screen. But the reality is right now, I just don't have to care. So... I'm not going to sit here and worry about the fact that we just wiped because 2 people face-pulled. I'm just going to say, alright, what can you do? It happens. I might need to do, like, extreme baby pulls here just to make sure that nobody face-pulls. And you know what? That's a reality sometimes. As a tank, you got to do that. If you realize that you're playing with a bunch of new players that do not know how to stop themselves from wandering into mobs... You have 2 options. You can either say, alright, I guess I'm just gonna pull based on what my group can handle, or I'm gonna be toxic and flame them in the chat, and I'm not gonna do that. So, I resign myself to doing easy baby pulls. And still almost dying. Maybe somebody who's more familiar with Astro can tell me what this person's doing. The heals feel ridiculously weak. But I've played with Astros before, and they're not weak, right? Like, Astros put out comparable healing to the other healers. So, this is not an Astrologian thing. This is a this guy thing. I'm just unsure if somebody who's more familiar with Astro could, like, look at what's going on and tell me what they're doing wrong. Because right now, I'm just very confused. Like, I'm looking at the numbers on Benefic 2, and it just seems so much weaker than, like, what a White Mage's Cure would be at this level. And I just don't think that's the case. So, is Benefic, like, yeah, that's the thing. This is a 5-mob pull. And I popped Rampart, and I popped Reprisal, and I still died. Just because I'm just not getting out-healed through the auto attacks. This is not normal. At all. So clearly they're doing something wrong. I'm just not sure what it is. Like, normally, like in WoW, if I see somebody doing something wrong, I'll politely whisper them and be like, hey, just so you know, I think they're not gonna res that guy? Maybe their res has a cooldown. And I don't know any commands in this game. I'm not familiar with emotes. I could go, here. Soothe. There we go. It's all good. Does this person know the shortcut? Okay, good. They're almost back. Yeah, but, like, so I know enough about, like, every WoW healer to, if I see somebody making, like, a rotational error, I can politely whisper them and just be like, hey, you know, just want to let you know it's more efficient to use, like, this button, that kind of thing. Just because I know it's not super intuitive for every new player. But the reality is, I know next to nothing about Astrologian. I've played with Astros, but I have not touched it at all. Like, I know a little bit about White Mage, because some of my friends have described it to me. But both Astrologian and Scholar, I am absolutely not knowledgeable about whatsoever. All I know is that Astro has cards and Scholar has a fairy. It's, like, the extent of my knowledge. I haven't played them whatsoever. Also, unfortunately, I don't have Sheltron yet. Well, I mean, I do have Sheltron, but it's not useful in this dungeon because of levels being scaled down. And I have to go free them. Yeah. If I do a speedrun, I might actually do it with the cheese of having people queue at the same time as me. Because while that may be cheese, I think it's the only like, frustrating way to do it. I would just be bashing my head against the wall constantly if it wasn't for that. Is Benefic an AoE heal? Because I saw everybody else just got heals there. So is that the problem? Maybe they're spamming their AoE heal instead of their single target heal. That would make a lot of sense. But I can't say for sure, I'm just guessing here. Ooh, don't mind if I do. I actually like that piece too, it looks pretty cool. Yeah, I like a nice little suit of armor. health is getting dangerously low. I almost feel bad. Like, obviously, I would feel worse if I didn't have the Sprout tag next to my name. Like I said, this almost gives me, like, a pass, right? Like, people think that I'm also a new player. But if I was on my main, I would feel terrible, because I would want to be able to help this person and, like, explain to them what they can do to, like, improve their rotation, but I don't know. I honestly don't know. Anything I say, I would be talking out of my ass. Like, I don't know Astrologian. At least not enough to understand what the healing issue is. I also don't have my damage meter installed, so I have no clue if they're, like, focusing on damage or something. That's one other thing you can also kind of see in WoW. I can't see that here. I'll be the first person to admit that I use Advanced Combat Tracker, but, like, the last time I used it was over a year ago? Whenever I was doing Eden's vs. Savage. And obviously, that was only just to track, like, my own raid team's personal numbers, just so we had a general idea. Like, yes, obviously, in case you're not aware, so Final Fantasy has a... I wouldn't say a strict stance, but a stance against third-party tools, and that includes damage meters. The main one that people use is called Advanced Combat Tracker. And now, Yoshida has, on numerous occasions, including recently, gone on record saying that, yes, once again, they do not condone the use of third-party tools. But basically, he kind of alludes to, in a lot of these, like, statements, he alludes to the fact that he doesn't really care too much if you use it. Like, in one of the ones that he did recently, he kind of jokes about the fact that, like, it's hard to classify what a third-party tool actually means. Because he said that Advanced Combat Tracker, in a sense, this is correct. Advanced Combat Tracker is basically just a calculator. If you go into the combat log here in battle, you can see exactly how much damage each person is doing. But obviously, I can't figure out DPS by looking at that with my own eyes. So Advanced Combat Tracker, like most damage meter tools, just looks at that log, adds up all the numbers, and tells you how much damage each person's doing, in a very simple, easy-to-read format. There's even a website called FFXIV, which is run by the same person that runs Warcraft logs, and you can find information on there for, like, for raids, who's doing the most damage. There's a leaderboard and stuff. That being said, it's, like, as Yoshida said, it's kind of hard to say what can be considered a third-party tool. Because, yes, you are technically running a program, a third-party tool, that is plugging into Final Fantasy and reading data. But it's not actually altering anything. It's just looking at the data that exists in Final Fantasy, throwing all the numbers together, and then putting out a report detailing all those numbers. And then Yoshida was like, well, let's say, after a fight, I grabbed a calculator, and I added up all the numbers myself. Is a calculator a third-party tool? And then he even said, like, let's say you took all the data, put it in an Excel spreadsheet, and used that to figure out how much damage each person was doing. Is Excel a third-party tool? And I found that really interesting because, like, yeah, like he says, there is a gray line, or a gray area. Like, where do you draw the line? What counts as a third-party tool and what doesn't? And basically what he ended up saying is he reiterated, like, yes, we don't condone third-party tools. But here's the thing. A lot of people say that the reason that you can get banned by us for using third-party tools is because if you use a damage meter and you harass other players about their numbers, then people will find out that you're using the damage meter and you'll get banned. And Yoshida was like, no, that's not why you're going to get banned. In that case, if you're harassing other people for their low damage, you're going to get banned for harassment. It'll have nothing to do with the fact that you had a damage meter on or not. So what he basically said is that they, realistically, have no way to tell whether or not somebody's actually using Advanced Combat Tracker. And although he did say, yes, it's not condoned, what he kind of hinted at is they don't really care if you're using Advanced Combat Tracker to just look at your own personal performance. And that's all I would do with it, right? Like, I ran it for my raid team, and then, you know, after a boss kill, we would, like, post logs, and, you know, just like in WoW, we'd all be, like, happy about it. Like, we would, look at the logs and, like, tell my Dragoon friend, like, oh, man, you did really good, like, your damage was insane, that kind of thing. So it's just something that, like, we can all be happy about, really. Okay, so that is a DPS belt. Oh no, the healer left. I was still gonna give them a comm because they were a good sport. Oh, I got gloves. Yeah, so, yeah, there's a lot of, I don't know how to put it, like a misconception in Final Fantasy that, like, ooh, you're not allowed to use damage meters. Like, it's banned. It's bad. And, like, really, no. You can use damage meters, just don't be an asshole. If I use damage meters in my raid, and I look at my logs at the end of the night, and I'm like, oh yeah, I did better than I did last night. Like, let's go. And then I compare my logs and see, like, okay, I did slightly more damage with this ability. Maybe I should, like, optimize my rotation. And then I look at other players' logs, and I'm like, oh, this person's getting more damage from this spell. Maybe I should focus more on that. Like, that's okay. You know, the Final Fantasy team doesn't care about that. That's, like, perfectly fine. It's technically against the rules, but are they going to ban you for it? No, they won't. Not only do they have no way of finding out, but they've already kind of hinted at the fact that, yeah, they don't really care. They just think that damage meters are a gateway to toxicity, and in many ways they are right. If using damage meters is really easy, you're going to have situations like in WoW where people use it to flame randoms and pugs. And, yeah, as much as I wish that that wasn't the case, that is the reality. A lot of people will do that. Generally speaking, I like to go out of my way and help people, but I understand that a lot of people don't. And now, one of the other things, so I will fully admit that when it comes to like, World of Warcraft, numbers matter a lot in terms of, like, Mythic Plus and stuff. Because World of Warcraft has so much high-risk dungeon content, where if you're doing a Mythic Plus, if you fail, you're fucked. Your key is dead. Like, screw you, don't pass go, don't collect $200, you don't get loot. Or you only get, like, one crappy piece of loot and your key gets downgraded. So, because success is so important and failure is so punishing, there is a major emphasis in WoW on actually winning the dungeon. This is something that, you know, people have said to death, right? Like, I'm not, you know, really prophetic by saying this. It's a well-known fact. But the reality is, behavior like that, or design like that in WoW, necessitates the use of meters. If I'm doing a Mythic Plus, and I'm doing a plus 15, and I need a DPS, well, if I'm looking... What? There's no invisible wall there. What? Huh. Okay. I just assumed there'd be an invisible wall. I didn't even consider that. Huh. Alright. Well, now I know. Won't catch me doing that again. Fucking hell, where was I? Oh, Jesus. Mythic Plus, yeah. Yeah, so if I'm looking to do a key, or I'm looking to do, like, AOTC or something, I'm basically forced to be really selective about who I bring, because I need to make sure that my key doesn't get depleted. So, why would I bring some random person who's never done the dungeon before over somebody who is, like, an experienced Mythic Raider, has, like, all these dungeons done on a plus 15, and is, like, super high item level? Like, yeah, the choice is obvious. In Final Fantasy XIV, outside of Savage Raiding, I have literally never felt compelled to actually be picky about, like, who I bring. I mean, first of all, because everything is done in hugs, right? Like, you intentionally join hug groups and stuff every time you do, like, a story mission. But there's also no form of, like, punishing dungeon content. And even raids, like, Savage Raiding, for the most part, is not nearly as punishing as Mythic Raids are. For starters, I mean, I'm like a little selective, right? Like, when I'm forming my Savage Raid teams, I still do the basic vetting process that, like, anybody does when forming a raid team, right? Like, I still talk to them. Obviously, you need to form a basic comp, right? Like, I can't bring a raid team of 4 red mages. You know, that's just duh. You need to have some... Well, at least I can do that now. That's pretty cool. You need to have, like, some, I guess, like, bare bones, like, comp. So, you know, 2 tanks, 2 healers, ideally different tanks, different healers. And then the general traditional setup for Final Fantasy raid comps is 2 melee DPS, 1 caster, 1 physical ranged. If you follow that format, there's a lot of wiggle room. Like, then some people might say, oh, well, we specifically need a dancer. And while I'll admit that dancer is the meta right now, bard is perfectly fine on a lot of fights. Machinist, I'm not entirely sure about. It was definitely the weakest option last I played, by a good bit. It might have changed, I don't know. But you can make a Machinist work. Like, nothing in Final Fantasy is on the level of Survival Hunter, for instance. Survival Hunter is just so obscenely dogshit that it's just like, why would anybody ever play? And it's a shame, because I don't know if I've mentioned this on the channel. I probably have, but I like Survival Hunter. I think it's a fun spec, hot take. It's one of my favorite DPS specs, but I've never been able to play it competitively, because, I mean, first of all, it's not a tank, but second of all, even if I wanted to, like, try to join a casual guild on the side as a Survival Hunter, who the fuck would take me? There's nothing even remotely on that level in Final Fantasy. Like, the worst class in the game at the moment would probably, arguably, be, like, Machinist, or maybe Monk. Maybe. And that's more of, like, a general thing, right? Like, I would say there are more fights than not where there's just better options than Machinist or Monk. Where are the other objectives? They're up there. Like, most fights, you're going to be better off taking a Dancer or a Bard. And most fights, you're going to be better off taking a Samurai or a Dragoon over a Monk. Or both a Samurai and a Dragoon over a Monk. So, they are, like, the weakest classes at the moment, so to speak. But that's not to say they're bad. Like, you'll see Monks at high-level play. Monk is still a good class. It's just, relatively speaking, one of the weakest. But I think that's more of a testament to how well-balanced everything in Final Fantasy is. You'll also see plenty of Machinists, because admittedly, Machinist is kind of a cool class. It's relatively popular. The irony is that despite Dancer and Bard generally speaking being better, they're actually relatively rare because a lot of people don't really enjoy playing them from what I've seen. I've heard that Dancer feels like very clunky in RNG to play, and while I know a lot of people who enjoy playing Bard, I feel like it's very underplayed because there's a bit of a stigma against Bard. Like, Bard is generally considered to be not viable. Even though it is. Bard is perfectly viable in a lot of content. But because of the fact that most people think that Dancer is just better, a lot of people will either go Dancer for Flavor of the Month, or they'll go Machinist because Machinist is more fun. That's generally the impression I've gotten. So as a result, Bard ends up being one of the most underplayed classes in Final Fantasy. Even though it is really cool. Like, I've thought about leveling up my Bard, just because it looks like it would be pretty interesting to play. But I don't know. Like, I think I've said this in previous episodes. If I played something in rating, it would be... or if I played a DPS in rating, it would be Red Mage. I love Red Mage. So fucking much. It's so much fun. And it's actually way more viable now than it used to be. Because Red Mage is like a utility spec, like, far and away one of the best utility specs in the game. But they actually recently buffed its damage by a good amount, so it used to be kind of, I wouldn't say impossible to play Red Mage. Like, you absolutely could bring it, and a lot of people did, but it was a bit frustrating to play a Red Mage because, sure, you had really good utility, but it still felt kind of bad when, like, your damage was just that much lower than the other classes within your role. But nowadays, Red Mage is actually really comparable in terms of damage. It does lose to Summoner and Black Mage, I think, in ideal situations for both of them. But it is definitely much closer than it used to be. And it still has all of its insanely strong utility and all the stuff that makes it really fun to play, so... as a result, Red Mage is probably now going to be my go-to pick by far for any stuff like that. But I still enjoy my tanks, of course. What's not to love with tanks and all that stuff? I want to make sure I stun this guy so he can't heal. Oh, he'll get a heal out. Maybe not. Nice. Just like going with that. Oh yeah. So the main thing that I'm trying to say with all of this is, even at the highest level of rating, Savage rating, you do not have to be super min-maxy about like what classes you bring. Generally speaking, damage checks are not super prevalent, and if they are, you can usually meet them with most classes. It's usually just about like not dying and doing mechanics optimally so you don't like, you know, lose, like, uptime on a boss. But I think pretty much any comp in the game can kill any boss. There's obviously going to be cases like WoW where certain comps are going to be better than others. I do know that, in many cases, healers and tanks specifically can really influence a fight. Like, in some cases, warriors will be, like, invaluable for a certain boss fight because of the utility they bring. So sometimes, even if every tank can kill a fight, unless you're absolutely 100% confident in your abilities, it's so much safer to play a warrior. Okay. This is, yeah, the level 45 quest. And then, didn't we get, yeah, pieces of armor. So, this is like a huge item level increase, which is awesome. move this around. Love that music. But yeah, I keep interrupting myself halfway through. What I'm trying to say is that the way that Final Fantasy is designed and balanced, it basically prevents any need to be super elitist and picky with how you structure your comps and stuff like that, because everything is viable. Even when I recruited for my raid teams, aside from the necessary stuff of, like, obviously, if somebody asked me, hey, do you have room for a red mage, and I already had a red mage, I would say, no, sorry, I don't. That's not because I didn't want a red mage, you just really can't stack more than one class, because raid teams are composed of 8 people, not 20. God, I love the prominence animation. It's so cool. Coolest fucking animation in this game. Let's do this cutscene. I mean, actually, it's not super interesting. Basically, corruption in the government, TLDR. I'm not a huge fan of the class stories either, until later on. They're very basic. Like, especially, God, I hate the warrior story. The warrior story is basically, like, your class trainer just gets really mad and fucks shit up, and you have to go there and, like, calm him down like he's a little toddler. And he does this all the time. And then the Heavensward story is basically teaching him how to not be a toddler so he can, like, move on and, you know, be a civilized person. It's just... I don't like the writing of that. Like, overall, main story quest, Final Fantasy, good. Class quests, pretty hit or miss. I do really like the Gunbreaker quests, though. I think they're pretty good. But they're also much more compact, because they were all written together, starting from level 60. And there's only, like, a few of them because, once again, they start from level 60. So they don't have to, like, try to adapt the story every time a new expansion comes out. It introduces the characters, it tells a story, and then, like, you're max level, and it's like, congratulations, you're done. So, I think it benefited from that. Alright, now we've caught up. Oh, my feisty little chocobo. I finally unlocked this. Let's go do that. Why not? Maybe it was like a class quest thing that I needed to do. I don't know. Yeah, I unlocked cover. You're not really gonna use cover a whole lot. What? Wait, did I... I'm so stupid. I was looking for the quest in the wrong place this entire time. Well, that explains it. Now we know. Yeah, cover is like one of those abilities that you're not really going to use a whole lot. Maybe on certain mechanics and high-level rating, right? Like, take all damage intended for another party member. So, I'm not sure exactly how that works, but I think that there are certain cases on Savage bosses that you could use that. Admittedly, I have not played Paladin in Savage raids. Like, I've played Paladin in dungeons, I've played Warrior in dungeons, I've played Dark Knight in dungeons. The only thing I've done Savage raids with is Gunbreaker. So, I'd imagine that that's a Savage raid thing, but yeah. And I should mention, I've never co-tanked with a Paladin before. I've only co-tanked with a Warrior and with a Dark Knight. So, I'm not really sure. Yeah, God, I have to do this now, don't I? Well, I got myself into this quest. Might as well finish it. I'm just not a huge fan of, like, the Chocobo companion stuff. I just don't find it, like, useful. I guess it's nice to have, right? Like, I probably should do it on my main. I mean, I've unlocked it on my main, but I haven't actually leveled up my Chocobo companion. But it's one of those things where it's, like, free damage, so... I should do it, right? Like... I have no reason to not do it. It's just laziness. And I don't like companion pets. Like, I mean, I don't hate hunters, but I feel like if I have a pet, I want the pet to be like an intrinsic part of my rotation. I don't want it to just be sitting there following me around doing whatever. Fun fact, you can't die of fall damage in Final Fantasy XIV unless you're in combat, which is something you all witnessed earlier. Chocobo's saddlebag is nice. That's literally the only reason I actually unlocked this on my main. Just because having additional bag space, it's like, what's not to like? Let's see. This should be Western Lanoska? Or no, Eastern Lanoska. Wineport, that's the one. Yeah, I'm not really sure what I want to do in terms of, like, video or streaming content for this game now. I mean, I'm content to finish this run, but like I said, I'm just going to do it at, like, a casual pace. If I feel like doing more of the leveling, I'll do more of the leveling, and I'll show it. And I want to replay all the way through Shadowbringers. If I feel like watching a cutscene, I'm going to rewatch a cutscene. So, that's how I'm going to do this. But at the same time, I'm also playing a lot on my main, and I kind of want to do video content for that. It's just, obviously, if you watch the rant, I kind of mentioned how I'm, like, really self-conscious about doing any sort of non-speedrun content, because I don't really think anybody would be interested or want to watch. So, I don't know. This is obviously a bit of a new thing for me right now, because I'm not speedrunning, I'm just leveling. So, hopefully people still enjoy watching it, even if there's not a timer attached, but considering the quality of my latest speedruns, might as well be the same thing, right? It's not like I was really being competitive in the practice runs. So, I mean, I suppose if you are watching this, you're only watching this to watch me ramble about random bullshit while I level. There's no speedrunning element to this. So I guess at that point, if I'm just rambling about random bullshit while I level, then why not ramble about random bullshit while I do other stuff? Like endgame content. Who knows? But that said, I also don't want to show endgame content if I'm going to be doing this series. Because, like, that would give a lot of spoilers. And I was thinking about, like, I just did the final, like, scenario quest for Shadowbringers, as I mentioned. And it's so good. It's really fucking good. To the point where I actually was like, fuck, I want to speedrun this. Like, I just want to optimize this one quest and just replay it over and over, just because of how much fun it was. So I feel like that could be a fun thing to do, like optimizing specific quests by replaying it through New Game Plus. But I don't know. I wouldn't want to do that until I at least finish this. So maybe that'll give me more of an incentive to finish this leveling thing. I'll do this part, and I'll do the next part. Actually, you know what? Here's what I'll do. I'll do up until the end of A Realm Reborn as videos. Because I started this as a video thing, everything up until the end of A Realm Reborn will be done through videos. But I did say that I would eventually do streams, and I still do plan on doing that. So I'll try to remember to repeat this in future installments, but if you would like to see the remainder of the leveling process from Heavensward onward done in a stream format rather than a video format, let me know. Like, as always, message me on Discord, put it in the comments. I don't care, just let me know. If that's something you'd rather see, if you prefer to see it streamed, obviously, I should clarify that just because it's streamed doesn't mean the video won't be here as a VOD on YouTube. It'll effectively be the same thing, except it'll be live, right? Like, I mean, I still do commentary even when it's not online, so I'll still be doing commentary in the stream. It'll just have the addition of, like, responding to people in chat or something like that. So I think that could be interesting. Like, I've said before that I'm not going to do speedruns on stream, because speedruns require, like, an intense level of focus that I can't really dedicate to while I'm also streaming. But if I'm just doing like a casual playthrough of the main story quest again, then I have absolutely zero incentive to just not stream it. It's a little bit more effort, kind of, because streaming obviously requires a little bit more presence of mind on my part. But I'd definitely be willing to do that if people would want it. So I'll leave it up to you guys. If enough people say that they want to see the rest of this run from Heavensward onward streamed, I'll do it. I'll stream Heavensward, I'll stream Stormblood, I'll stream Shadowbringers. And if there's something else that you want me to stream, let me know. I like this game, and I'd be willing to pretty much do whatever for it. One thing I'll probably do, since I do plan on, I guess, finishing this character now, is I'll probably do, I think I want to do, like, a guide for getting into Triple Triad, because, obviously, as you see, I love Triple Triad. And then I'll also probably do a guide for getting into crafting. Like, a true beginner's crafting guide of how do you get into this. Because I mentioned this in passing, but so many crafting guides are just so high-level, convoluted, hard to get into, when the reality is there are so many basics of starting a crafting profession that these guides miss, that it's not that complicated. It's literally just, you go there, you learn the crafting profession, and then you know a few things, and you blaze through, like, the first 30 levels. It's super easy once you understand it. And after watching a lot of those videos, I didn't understand it, and I had to figure it out myself. And I also think crafting's really fun, especially once you get to, like, points later on. The fact that crafting actually has, like, a skill level that's required is really cool. Is my Chocobo doing anything? I think it did damage. Good for you, Finn. I'm also actually so close to hitting 50, which is kind of funny. It'll probably slow down a little bit now because I'm not going to be able to blaze through class quests, so I have to just kind of like grind out the rest, but the fact that I'm this close as is kind of surprising me. I think I'm getting closer to Titan, but I forget exactly. It's like Titan's like level 30. Yeah, I think it's like level 34. And we're on level 33 right now in terms of quests, so it should be like any point now. Come on. Don't really care. Oh, gives you both. Oops, fat-fingered my emote. Alright. I also think it could be fun to do, like, dungeon speedruns. Because, so, as I mentioned, there is no real Mythic Plus equivalent for Final Fantasy, but there is a category on speedrun.com for dungeons. Now, admittedly, I have bounced this idea off some friends, and none of them seemed interested. So, a while ago, I was like, hey, would any of you want to try to do, like, dungeon speedruns? And they all looked at me like I had 5 heads. Like, why the fuck would we want to do that? So, I mean, it might be hard finding 3 other people that would actually be interested in attempting it, but I think the idea sounds cool, because there's a lot of really cool dungeons in Final Fantasy that just, like, never see extended play, because since there's no hard mode, you have no incentive to run them over and over. So being able to optimize those dungeons would be really cool. I think that would just be really fun. It's something to think about, I suppose. And it's hard to truly speedrun a dungeon in a speedrun itself, like the full main story quest speedrun, because it's just impossible to control what your party is. One other thing, though, I don't think it's in the official rule set for Shadowbringers, but I feel like, at least for Shadowbringers, the speedrun.com rules should require you to use trust parties. And if you're not familiar with what that is, trust parties are parties that basically allow you to do dungeons with all NPCs. So as a result, the queue is instant because you're queuing up with NPCs with a full party. And because it's NPCs, it's a completely even playing field. The NPCs do the same thing for all players. So it's effectively like soloing a dungeon. And I feel like if you have the option available to you, which you do starting off in Shadowbringers, to completely level the playing field in regards to dungeons, you should do that. So personally, when I level through Shadowbringers on this character, I am only going to be using trust parties, because I think that's just the most fair way to do it. And it's also fun to see the NPCs give their like little dialogue and stuff. Like, I'll never miss an opportunity to see additional banter between Alphino and Alice. Oh, I can just head back to Wineport now. Is this still level 33? Yeah. A lot of quests here. Unfortunately, even now, we're still only... I don't even know. We're pretty far behind. So I've got a good 10 hours or so of gameplay left before I'm out of A Realm Reborn. It's a lot. But, you know, I'll push through. I'll get it done. This episode, I think I'm going to go up until I kill Titan. And then I'll probably stop because I have a doctor's appointment at noon. And as it stands, I'm already not going to get 8 hours of sleep. So I'll make do with like 6. There you are, Y'shtola. Alright, yeah, so this is where you find out that the reason you've been doing all these random, seemingly pointless odd jobs is because they prepared you a feast in your honor. Aren't you happy? It's dumb. I don't like this quest. Like, look, aren't you glad you did all those stupid side quests? You get to eat in a cutscene! Y'shtola's just chilling. And then this... finally, Titan? Nope. One more filler quest. Where? Where? Oh, it's Camp Bronze Lake. Visually, it looked very similar in terms of the layouts. I got confused. Let's see. Okay. Close. We're close. Nothing new there. And move this back. While I'm in queue for Titan, I'm gonna clean out my inventory a bit. I'm also debating using a Fantasia on my main, which is something I've actually never done before. I still have the original Fantasia I got from finishing 2.0 on my main, which has been a male Makode since the dawn of time, but I'm honestly wondering if I should just change to a Zayla Aura, because I like this character a lot more than my current main, so I might just swap. One thing I'm not sure, though, is if you use a Fantasia, if you're allowed to change your name, because if I can't change my name, then it would be pointless. But if I could change, like, my character to this one on my main character, I think I'd be a lot happier with that. I'll have to see. So I can sell this. Hope you like this noise, because you're going to be hearing it a lot. At least for right now. Well, that's going to be a lot of gil. Woo! Technically speaking, I should be desynthesizing this gear, but I don't care too much about this character. So I guess I should say, if you are planning on, well, I wouldn't even say if you're planning, you should be doing this. So if you, while you're leveling, don't do what I'm doing here, and don't vendor all of your old gear. Learn your professions, and then once you learn a profession, you can right-click, and there'll be a desynthesis option here. Do that. It's much better. Not only does it level up the skill, which is going to be important later on. You know, it's nice to have that skill leveled up for when you need it. But it's also going to give you potentially good materials, which can actually add up to more money on the trading post or market board. Than it would be just by selling the item raw. So take my word on that. Don't do what I'm doing. Desynthesize. I'm only doing this because, once again, I don't care about this character. This is going to be, if anything, like a YouTube test character. So I can replay the story. If this character was on, if this character was on North America, I would try to optimize it, just because then I could trade gold over to my main. But because it's on Japan, I'm never going to benefit from having any of this stuff. So I don't care. Okay. So we got a decent amount of gil from that. Got my pets. Added that orchestrion roll. And now... how do I access my Chocobo saddlebags again? There it is. I don't know why, but I like keeping my dyes in my saddlebag. This is just... on my main, that's what I do. If you look at my Chocobo saddlebag, it's like 90% dyes. That's what I use that bag for. So, I'll do that with this character too. And yes, I'm aware that I can mount up. I'm just lazy. I don't feel like it. Wait, I just realized, why am I not wearing pants? Huh. So, instead of plate armor pants, I just have, like, plate armor jean shorts. Like, what the fuck? I never noticed that. I think maybe the full armor set is supposed to involve the chest piece. And because I don't have the chest piece, it looks awkward. But, nice. Plate jean shorts it is. Oh, yeah, I have to go this way. And I will mount up. Oh, I know you. You're relevant later on in the story. Ah, we finally reached Lord of Crags. Once again, not important, it's just telling us about Titan. Like, that's the thing, you get to meet, like, Real. I actually forgot that you meet him here. But he's not really important here, he's still a very, very minor side character. But then, he becomes a slightly more important side character later on. and then he's brought up a few more times after that. So you get to meet like a wide cast of characters during A Realm Reborn. But like Realm Reborn's like story depth is like as wide as an ocean, as deep as a puddle. But then they really get deep with all of those characters starting from like Heavensward onward, and that's where it starts to really pay off. But for now, it's like all set up, no payoff. Right. And then Y'shtola interacts with the Aetheryte, and she's like, I think I got it to work. You should be able to fight Titan now. I must needs remain here. Blah, blah, blah. Love the way that Y'shtola talks. Alright, the Naval. Average wait time 7 minutes. Well, so the run's gonna be at least that much longer. While I wait... Did I still forget to... God damn it, I forgot to get the golden saucer. Didn't I? Oh, I am just... smart. Absolute genius right here. Literally started off the video saying that I forgot to get the golden saucer Aetheryte, and then once again, I forgot to do it. That said, we did spend a lot of time at the start of this run, like, doing the Paladin quests and whatnot, getting all of that stuff done. What's the total time? We're at about an hour 52 minutes now? Alright. It's not too bad. So we should hit about 2 hours. That's pretty standard, I think. I was planning on maybe going a little bit longer, but like I mentioned, doctor's appointment in the morning, and since I was staying up for a while debating on what I actually wanted to do in terms of the series, it was only like at, I don't even know, like 2 a.m. when I actually finally came to a conclusion where I was like, yeah, I do want to finish that series. So I didn't start recording until pretty late tonight. Depending on what time I'm free tomorrow, I should have more time to record. Which means that by the time that this video is uploaded, hopefully, I'll already have the next 2 parts after this recorded. Obviously, we'll have to see. I'm not entirely sure, but that is my goal. And from that point, it's just going to be a race to the finish. I'm going to finish A Realm Reborn, and then, like I said, I'm going to wait, and if people want me to do Heavensward on stream, I will try to schedule that. If not, I'll just do it and make it into a video, like these. So, we'll see for that. And then, I guess, while I wait for, you know, whether or not I'm going to stream Heavensward onward, I will... I don't know. I'll think of something. Maybe I'll make my triple triad guide or whatnot. I've also wanted to try, like, triple triad tournaments. I think that would be fun, though I've never actually tried it, to be honest. Yeah, I thought that might happen. But that's okay. So I can do this. They're also gonna take it. Yeah, there. Yeah, that is problematic. I won! I already have Urianger. Leap of Faith is now underway. Well, I can't participate while I'm in a queue either way. Alright. Let's start with a good King Moggle. Alright. I'm gonna take the corner with Blue Dragon. I want them to use a Scion card, because if they use a Scion card, I can punch up with Urianger. So maybe I'll do something like this. If they drop something here... Okay, well, I lose. I can do this, but yeah. Alphino, just absolute blowout. It's hard to go up against that. Blue Dragon isn't bad, but it's also not amazing. Let's go with Good King Mogamog. Okay. Can take Godbert. They're gonna put something... They're not gonna put something in that corner. Okay. Well, in that case, I'm gonna secure my Blue Dragon. They might... Really? Wait, but I can do this. And take Sid. Yeah, I don't know what the AI did that time. They did not make good decisions. Alright, I'm starting off. Throw a Good King Mogamog. Alphino, okay. How do I want to play this? I want to take the Alphino. I think I just want to use Urianger. Wow. They didn't punish me? So I'm actually wondering here. I wonder if what happened is the AI doesn't know how to calculate the Ascension bonus. I don't know. No, but even then, it's 1 versus 1. That's a weird play. I am very confused as to why it would do that. Now, unfortunately, I can't take this Good King Mogamog regardless. So... I'm just gonna turtle in the corner up here and hope they don't take it. Then I can take that. And if they put something weak there... No. I think it's a sudden death, yeah. Okay. This is doable. I can work with this. So I would need... Let's go with this. La Habrea dead center. They're gonna take it. Yeah, that's fine. Then... So what do they have? They have... Minfilia is really good at punching in this direction. So I want to take La Habrea back and secure that. They're gonna... Okay. Right. I want to be able to punch up with Alphino into the Good King Mogamog. And I can do that now that they buffed it. But... So here's the thing, Minfilia can't take either of these. Yeah. If I had let Minfilia... So I could have actually taken one card there by placing Alphino and Alize in the place where Minfilia got dropped. Oh, shit. Shit. Exit. Okay, good. It cancels. But basically, if I had done that, Minfilia would have blown out 2 of my cards. So I would have taken 1 card, but I would have lost 2. So it would have been a net negative. But by putting it in the corner there, I secured my existing cards. And overall, even though I didn't gain anything, I didn't lose anything. So I ended up winning. So there's a lot of strategy like that in Triple Triad. Alright. Titan is admittedly way more fun than a Freet. Okay, let's rock and roll. Where is that guy going? He almost got himself killed. I'm gonna pop Sheltron just to be safe here. Oh, did that guy get knocked? Oh no, he made it out. I'm gonna pop a healing potion. Yeah, so on normal difficulty, Tight End doesn't have too many mechanics. As you can see, when he phased, he made it so the edge of the room had an AoE circle. All you need to do is just not stand near the edge. So you can see here, edge of the room. Literally, do the exact opposite of what, well, both of us are doing. Technically, what I'm doing is incorrect, right? Like, you're supposed to run around here. You're supposed to run, like, in between the center and the edge. But those guys were, like, hugging the edge. And they were getting punished for it. If they had stood where I was standing, they probably would have, like, maybe even died. But I'm a tank, so it's just easier for me to not move. Helps with boss positioning, and I'm not going to get clapped by it regardless. I'll demonstrate the correct way to do it instead of being lazy. So you can see here. Should have popped stab by the sword or fight or flight. Oh, goodbye! I'm sorry for laughing, but it's... I actually don't see that happen a lot. So it's kind of funny. Man, that guy's about to get trapped. So just gotta break him out. Pop Sheltron, just for the extra mitigation. Ooh, healer, don't kill yourself, please. I really wish I was higher level and I had my raid lights, but alas, I don't have access to them right now. I can't remember if Titan has another phase after this, so I'm trying to hold on to my cooldown. Maybe I should just pop it. I'm just gonna pop it. Oh, nice thirsty LB. Okay, so not too bad. You just need to not embrace your inner Dragoon and go flying off the edge, and then all is good. There we go. I'll give the Black Mage a commendation, just so he knows that it's okay, buddy. We all make mistakes. I was gonna give it to the healer, admittedly, but they left really fast. Alright. I'm just gonna go ahead, hand in this quest, and then that'll be the end of episode 4. As of a few days ago, I never thought I'd be making this. But I think what I realized is that not everything I need to do has to be a speedrun. Not everything I need to do, or not everything I do needs to be a world record. It's okay for me to just enjoy leveling without putting a timer on myself. I just hope everybody else enjoys it too. Because, I'm gonna be honest, I'm having a lot more fun doing this than trying to time myself. It's way more relaxing, it's way more fun. I'm not constantly stressed out. It's just good. And especially later on when we get to the good parts, I get to watch cutscenes. Like, I'm just excited about that. Alright, well, you know, that's the end of part 4. I will try to make sure that I have part 5 and part 6 recorded. Not sure how long I'm going to go for those. So, let's see, what are we on? We're on level 34. So the next part, I'm definitely going to get Stone Vigil done. I might, if I have time, push all the way to Garuda. That would be a long episode, though, but I think if I really try, I can push all the way up to Garuda. And then I would stop at Garuda, and then episode 6 would be all the way through the end of 2.0. Then patch content would probably be split into like 2 episodes. I think, you know, because Crystal Tower takes a while, right? So Crystal Tower, and then maybe like one of the patches would be its own, and then maybe like, maybe it'd be more 3 episodes. We'll see. I'll play it by ear. I definitely want to get this done soonish, so I can move on to other things, but I also don't want to rush it. I want to give it time to breathe. But yeah, if you're still watching the series, thank you. I'm glad that you enjoyed it and that you made it all the way through. I know that this isn't like super serious speedrun content, so if you're watching this, well, I hope you enjoy this. I hope you enjoy just the commentary-filled, low-stress leveling stuff. And I look forward to showing some of the cooler cutscenes as we get later on. But yeah, that's it for episode 4. I will post the link to the big rant video down in the description if you want to watch that. It's not really so much of a rant. Rant makes it sound angry. It's more of like depression-fueled ramblings is probably a better word than rant. But I'll post the link to that in the description. That'll be released simultaneously with this video, so if you haven't seen it already, you can check that out. And I will see you all in part 5 in 2 days. Peace.